Hello, I decided to do my first paper on standardized testing. One, I thought it would be a great topic for me because I want to be an elementary school teacher, and just from my experience for half a year volunteering up at elementary school and watching these kids, standardized testing was enforced and emphasized so much. Every day it was like the teachers treated it like a life or death situation to the kids. It was insane. I knew it was a big deal when I was growing up, but it has even become a much bigger deal now. And also there's a lot of articles coming out recently that pertain to this topic, and it's becoming an even bigger issue where people are kind of questioning it now, whereas first they thought it was a great idea. I kind of looked at the background of it first. The two sources that I found to be the most useful was this book called The Test by Anna I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but that I found to be very useful. And my second source was this book just called Standardized Testing by Judy Willis, I believe was her name. Both of the books I found using the library, the BRCC library, and they were very useful because you could view them online, and it was really convenient as well because you can view it from anywhere and you can click on each chapter, and it's not just like one book where you have to scroll all the way down. So that was really convenient. So I decided to look at the history of it to start with, because a lot of times when you're researching something, you need to kind of look at the history of it. How was it formed? Why was it formed? Who started it? And then get to what you want to research, what you want to do, what you want to focus on. Because if you don't understand the history of something, then it's hard for you to kind of grasp what was the point of it to begin with, or, you know, just the why. So in looking at the history, I found out that in 1905 there was this guy named Alfred Binet, and he was a French psychologist, and he wanted a way to test intelligence, and that's how the standardized test came about. And he started, testing certain sections, like verbal sections at first. Reading section wasn't a thing to start out with, and he started doing it like that. And later in 1926, I believe, in 1926 the first SAT was started, and it wasn't like what we think of now, but the first SAT came about, and it was this great thing. And it was only 70 tests were first made, because again, it was experimental. It was a really small first experiment. They took it and ran with it. And then in 1936, the first automatic automatic test scanner was made, which is what we're used to, where, like you fill in the bubbles and then it scans it and voila, your grade. That didn't come about till 1936. So that also helped expand SATs and the standardized testing and all of that. And then in 1959, the ACT came out, and that was supposed to be kind of competitive with the SAT to see if it would give you an even better understanding of intelligence. So I found all of that very interesting. I had no idea about any of those facts before researching this topic, so I thought that was really cool. There's a lot more that I didn't go into detail. The first kind of idea of this came about in like the 1700s, but nothing comparable to what we think of today. The first real solid information of what we think of today happened the early 1900s. And so so that was pretty crazy, finding all that information out. And then later later as I was looking on it, I found I kind of side more the bad side of it, just because it's crazy how under pressure these kids are. Like, when volunteering, these kids were like, I'm gonna fail life, blah blah blah, and like they were so stressed out about it. And I'm like, just because you fail a test does not mean you're gonna fail at life. And that's kind of how they saw it, because that's how the teachers portrayed it, as something so big, and that you couldn't fail, you couldn't miss, and blah blah blah. And it was just insane to me. But then looking more into the teacher side, when I went and moved on to the book of just standardized testing by Judy Willis, I found out that that there was this survey taken a couple years ago, and about 66% of the teachers they surveyed said that they did not like standardized testing. They felt like that, one, it put a lot of pressure on them to not be able to teach all of what they wanted to teach that they believed would be important. And two, that it left children behind. It actually left more children behind, and it didn't, and it put a lot of stress on the kids, and it was hard for them to get the kids to calm down about it and to not freak out and to just stay calm during the test, which could also affect the results because they were so stressed out. So surprisingly, which I was a little surprised at how many of the teachers said that they did not agree with standardized testing, and they believe that it should be changed, modified, or just getting rid of, period. Another thing that I found out about was that there was, let me double check the percentage here, yeah, the 44%. 44%, when they also asked the teachers, 44% of them said that they spend about 30 minutes on social studies, art, recreational activities, things like that, like PE and all that stuff. They spent less than 30 minutes of the school day addressing those things, which shows that they are focusing more on what they're going to be scored on and how the kids are going to do on what's going to be tested, instead of actually looking at the whole situation and spending more time on the whole thing so they get a full, well-rounded education, but instead are just getting part of an education based on what's gonna turn out to be beneficial for the teachers, and also what's going to get them to pass, instead of what could be useful later on in life. So I found that to be pretty interesting too, that there was such a high percentage in such a low amount of time in a day that they spend on topics that, when I remember growing up, were important and mattered, and we spent definitely a lot more time on. So yeah, so that's what the information I gathered so far. So far it was a pretty good, solid start, especially finding two really convenient and just very helpful resources to start off with. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, that's what I have so far.